my niece, who had a double mastectomy, has gone through so much, and she today is 40, but she probably could have been diagnosed in her 20s if she would have had this test. And it's really sad that she had to have a double mastectomy and go through all of this. And you know, for so many women, and I have a friend I have to tell you about, she died from breast cancer. I've lost 3 friends over breast cancer, so it's really important to me. She died because they didn't even want to give her a mammogram. And her mother and her sister had breast cancer. And because she was like 36 or something, they just didn't think that was important. They weren't going to cover it. So, you know, I think more and more women that are younger, and I want to ask you guys, I want to do a roundtable on this, you know, because of what we eat today, and I think that might have something to do with in what we drink. Does that have anything to do with cancer cells in younger people? Dr. Andrew?
I would love to field that. The answer to that question is cancer is a multifactorial disease.
Right.
There's many factors that contribute to the manifestation. It's been said and reported in as many journals as I've ever read that cancer is existing from the day we're born. They are cells inside of us that are floating through our system. What keeps them in check is a healthy body. What gives the opportunity for those faulty cells to grow and to mature and develop into full-blown cancer tumors and conditions is diet, your lifestyle, and environmental toxins. There's a lot of research talking about environmental toxins that we need to be more conscientious about as a society. So to answer your question, you bet diet has a lot to do with it. The foods we eat determine the quality of the fuel that our bodies are given.
Right. And
simple as that.
I want your opinion.
You know, I concur with that. To piggyback on that, you know, when we talk about toxins, there's a recent study that was actually presented in front of Congress just about 2 months ago that dealt with 10 Americans, and you can Google this, 10 Americans, EWG, and it had to do with 10 Americans who they took their blood, tested it for 300 toxins and pesticides that were in our systems. 287 of them were common in all 10 Americans. All 10 Americans were babies in utero when they did chordocentesis and actually obtained the blood. They also ran it for these 287 toxins and pesticides in our bodies before we're even born. So never in history has the human race faced such a problem where we've created our own problem by the use of chemicals, which do a great work in getting rid of bacteria and fungi, okay, and fungus. However, when we leave those things in our system, then they literally get into our system and then cause all kind of havoc with the circulating tumor cells that have been there for a long time.
Well, you know, Karen's generation, actually, I was at a conference just about 2 weeks ago with the heavy metals and everything that are in our systems. Her generation, there's a lot of things that are happening to the male population because of heavy metals and because of the toxins. And it's really sad, absolutely. Erectile dysfunction, not having certain things, you know, that you can actually do. In other words, your generation, your and my generation, is actually healthier than her generation because they've had more to deal with.
And it's a scary thing because it is well known, and we hear it at conferences all the time, that the next generation has a real possibility of not even living as long as their parents.
And that's really sad when you think about it.
And that's the first time that we have had that occur. And we were talking about environmental toxins. We are the only species on the planet that pollute our environment.
You know, maybe that's one of the that's another reason, don't you think? Because younger people are getting breast cancer.
Younger and younger.
Younger and younger. And the other thing is, what about men? Men get breast cancer too, am I right?
Sure. Yes. Yeah, the ratio is pretty wide. I mean, it's 100 women to 1 man, but we've all known about men who have gotten breast cancer, absolutely.
So what age do you think that we should be looking at scanning people?
That's a very good question.
Late 20s.
Late 20s?
In the 20s at some point. I'm 28 years old. I've already done my first scan. I have a baseline now so that I can continue to watch that throughout my life and make sure that, you know, if something does start to develop, we're getting it in the earliest stages. I know with my husband's mother, she was 30 years old when she was diagnosed with cancer. She died at 38 after fighting for 8 years. That cancer was there in her 20s. So if we could have caught it in the earliest stages and made maybe some lifestyle changes, I think that's what we were really talking about with the toxins, is making those lifestyle changes in our diet, exercising, cutting out caffeine, alcohol, tobacco, things like that, and putting in good foods into our system. We can really make these changes and take charge of our own health.